I have severe anxiety disorder.
What this is a sign of is some form of a chronic illness. This is not good. It's not healthy. And somebody with all of these health markers combined probably shouldn't be competing. Why is Mike risking his health, risking his life in order to get up on stage? I'll tell you why. Coach Greg, in today's video, we're going to be going over why does Mike Israetel bodybuild? I'm going to be explaining the reasons why he needs to retire, not should retire, needs to retire. He's going to answer the questions why he's doing it, why does he bother, and we're going to go over how great or average or below average are his genetics.
Mike, tell me about your bodybuilding. I would like to take a couple more cracks at a Masters Pro card, and then at age roughly 42, I will quit bodybuilding entirely. Gives me a decent crack at the over 40 Masters division, but also doesn't severely impinge on my longevity.
And so Mike says, look, I'm about 40 years of age. He doesn't want people to know exactly how old he is. Maybe he's a few months older, a few months younger, I don't know. But he says, when I hit age 42, I am going to retire. He wants 2 more cracks at an IFBB Pro card. But why? Why does he need to be validated? Why does he need an IFBB Pro card? The guy's making millions of dollars a year. Does he have what it takes to be an IFBB Pro? AKA, how great are his genetics? And so the first thing I want to say is genetics for putting on a lot of muscle, they're in fact way above average. The guy is a 5'6" manlet, a hobbit if you will, just like Coach Greg. We're the same height, but yet in his off season, he's 250 pounds. It's a lot of weight. And on contest day, he clocks in at 225. And so for being only 5'6", 225 is a monster. It's literally bigger than Flex Lewis. Flex Lewis competed at 212. Mike Israetel, 225. But yet, who do you think looks better? Yeah. He doesn't look nearly as good. The aesthetics, his genetics for looking aesthetic, far, far below average. And so what we have is a guy with a ton of muscle, with horrible genetics for looking aesthetic. He doesn't have the small waist. He doesn't look like Chris Bumstead. And so overall, if we have to rate his overall genetics as a bodybuilder, I'm still giving him above average rating. He's clearly still at the national level, but at what cost? Let's dive into, do you believe that Mike Israetel is 100% natural? Obviously not. He quite literally goes over his cycle. He tells us he's not natural. As we examine his physique on stage, this says Mike Israetel competing at the 2023 NPC Masters Nationals. And so in going over his physique, what first I notice is that he doesn't have the conditioning. Although he competes at 225 pounds, I'm telling you, it's far, far too heavy. He needs to trim down. He needs to get leaner. And so we've talked about his genetics for building muscle, as well as his genetics for looking aesthetic. But how about his genetics for being able to use performance-enhancing drugs safely? Some people's bodies simply aren't meant to use performance-enhancing drugs. They use small doses and they get horrible side effects. Other people can use higher doses and it seems like they're still healthy. Let's examine Mike's genetics. And so he goes over his drug protocol and literally gives this disclaimer. Don't copy this. Most people who take 100 milligrams of aldactone daily are taking serious health risks. I can do it because my propensity to hold water via aldosterone is wild. I've never met anyone like me in this regard. This is an absurd amount of water pulling because I store an absurd amount of water. You probably don't. So this approach is probably not for you. In fact, if it doesn't seriously endanger your health, it will make you look flat and depleted. And so imagine, how many people do you think Mike has encountered who he's coached bodybuilding, who we've seen and given advice to? Probably thousands, yet he has the worst genetics for holding water. And so why do you think that is? Probably some genetic condition, which I'm telling you, if you continue to do this, you have no idea the damage you're doing to your health. And so because of this, I do believe he's hinting at suggesting he has hyperaldosteronism. It's a kidney disease. I can't be certain, but based on how he's wording these things, I do believe that's what he has. And just so you know, 100 milligrams of aldactone is something you would give to somebody in heart failure. It's a very high dose. And so this is what he does when he prepares for competition. Remove testosterone 6 weeks out. Why do you think that is? Well, testosterone, it can hold water. Now, for the most part, I've never heard a bodybuilder in my life have to cut out testosterone 6 weeks out. When I coach myself as well as others, I normally would get rid of testosterone anywhere from 2 to 3 weeks before the competition. And these were longer esters. For example, enanthate or cypionate. The fact that he has to cut it out 6 weeks out shows me he is hypersensitive to holding water. And so clearly, at least in my opinion, he must have some form of chronic disease. Perhaps it's with his heart, his kidneys, I don't know. Next, he starts aldactone 2 weeks before the competition at 100 milligrams a day. I have never in my life seen anyone need 100 milligrams of aldactone that far up. At the most, the worst, I would have an athlete start aldactone 5 days before the competition, and these were people who were seriously holding water. I didn't want them to start this early, didn't think they needed it this early, but they, the athlete, they requested it. Now remember, he goes into more details, so I don't have time to cover everything. Pull out GH 5 days out. He is clearly taking growth hormone. He admits to this. Growth hormone can cause acromegaly or gigantism. You can see your bones getting bigger, protruding in the forehead and so on. And it can cause your stomach to be more distended. A thicker stomach, wider waist, enlarged organs, you're going to look a lot bigger, but not more aesthetic. If you look at the size of Mike Israetel's waist, it doesn't look like Chris Bumstead. And so because of that, his weight is inflated. 5'6", 225 pounds on stage. He should, without question, be an IFBB pro with ease. But yet he's not. And why? Because he doesn't have the aesthetics. If the majority of your weight is in your abdomen, and remember, he does have an android fat distribution. He doesn't have glenoid, he has android. Glenoid would be more in the hips and thighs. Android is more in the stomach. If he's carrying more visceral fat in this area, that is much more likely to lead to a heart attack. Given the fact he has an android fat distribution, that he has to take so much aldactone, perhaps 2 weeks before the competition, that he's taking growth hormone, that he has to cut out testosterone 6 weeks early. All this leads to me believe that his genetics are horrendous for bodybuilding. Next, he increases carbs 3 days out from the show. For the most part, I've never seen anyone need 3 days of glycogen loading in order to peak properly on stage. For the most part, most people, they spill over. When you consume carbs for multiple days, chances are you're going to overdo it. And I do believe that that's what's happening to Mike. Next, decrease water progressively 3 days out. And so for 3 days before the competition, he's gradually cutting out water from his diet. I don't like this. I believe you should cut water all out at once. When you gradually cut out your water, your body recognizes this is happening. In comparison, if you cut out all your water at once, let's call it Friday at noon. You drink water, you cut it out at noon, and you don't consume any more. Your body then will get rid of it very quickly. And if you save the aldactone for later, let's call it 5 days out, and add in hydrochlorothiazide the day before the competition, you're going to lose that much more water. But remember, Mike has tried this a number of times, and he says this is his best option. But I believe if this is his best option, his genetics are not for bodybuilding. This is dangerous, it's not healthy, and so, in my opinion, Mike should retire. Now, aside from his issues with holding water, let's examine his physique, namely his fingers. And so we're thinking, why are you looking at his manos, particularly the dodos? We're looking at his nail bed. What are we looking for? Well, we're seeing some clubbing. The nails are not bending inwards, they're in fact bowing outwards. And so his nails, rather than having a concave appearance, they have a convex appearance. Clearly, they're bowled out like a dome. And so what this is a sign of is some form of a chronic illness, whether it's his heart, his kidneys, his liver, something, we don't know. I'm not his doctor, but what it does signify is this is not good. It's not healthy. And somebody with this, with all of these health markers combined, probably shouldn't be competing. In this photo, what we see zoomed in, he does in fact have a six-pack. His waist is very small, but you'll see some varicose veins in his abdominals. Remember, this is much more dangerous than varicose veins in the lower legs. For example, you've seen Nick Walker with varicose veins. When the varicose veins occur around the belly button, around the abdomen, much more dangerous, should not be competing. And so the reason for this is when you have varicose veins in this area, it may signify an obstruction. Having varicose veins in this way, it's most likely a sign of having too much cholesterol causing peripheral artery disease. It may also also be a form of liver disease, portal hypertension. Now, because Mike is only around 40 years of age, it's most likely in the early stages, but if he should continue to do this and push the envelope, especially while using performance-enhancing drugs, you don't know what the result will be. And so you might be asking yourself, why is he then competing? I mean, after all, his genetics aren't elite level. He's not going to turn IFBB pro and then stand on stage against the best bodybuilders in the world. He's not going to make it to the Olympia. And so why is he in fact competing? Well, he answers this.
You get the pro card, bro. You're doing great. No matter what, it's 42 though.
If
like,
between now and then incredibly powerful non-androgenic, non-steroid anabolics are invented and I can get my hands on them, yes, I will continue.
Sure. Okay.
But short of that, no.
Omar presses him and says, hey, what if you're doing amazing? Let's, for argument's sake, that you turn pro and you actually look amazing. Are you still going to retire? You're going to keep going. He says, no. I've already decided I can't keep going. The reason for that is he knows it's not healthy. He knows he can't push the envelope. And so he's given himself until the age of 42. And unless there's some natty steroid out there that has no negative side effects, that can build enough muscle to compete as a pro, and remember, not even Turk Builder or Ecti Builder can do this. This is not more potent than taking Tren, Test, and so on. And so unless there's some new form of testosterone that comes out that works 10 times better than steroids, and he actually makes it to Olympia, he's not going to compete. If he could do it in a healthy way, he absolutely would. He loves to bodybuild. He loves to compete. He's doing this for years. He did it since he was a teenager. But with all good things, they have to come to an end. And the fact it's so dangerous, so unhealthy, it just has to retire.
My body is not a message to anyone but me, so it's not a matter of self-expression.
And so Mike says, look, my body is not a message for anyone but myself. I do it for me. I'm going to argue this is 100% horse shit. Everyone seems to think this. I'm doing it for me. I'm getting breast implants for myself. I put on makeup for me. I get hair extensions for myself. I get limb lengthening surgery for me. I do this for me. I do that for me. No, you don't. You do it for the dopamine associated with achieving a greater status. People are going to compliment you. Perhaps you're going to move up in your career, make more money. And so let's find out the real reason why Mike is competing. Why is Mike risking his health, risking his life in order to get up on stage? I'll tell you why. Money.
I love the process of change. I love the look. And I love the process of progression. I like to pull my shirt off at the end of a workout session, flex in the gym, and scare myself.
Now remember, just because you're doing things for the money, the glory, the glam, so to speak, doesn't mean you don't enjoy the process. Of course, you enjoy pushing yourself in the gym. You enjoy training harder than last time. You love to see the gains. You love the dopamine of knowing that you're putting out your best effort, your best self. But at what cost? If he was doing this 100% natural, I'd say keep going forever. Don't ever stop. But because he has to use and abuse performance-enhancing drugs, he's taking several risks that will, in fact, shorten his life. Not to mention, let's talk about this right now, the mental negative side effects. Mike Israetel is very open, honest about all of this. The anxiety. When he's on steroids, he doesn't feel good. He also talks about the anger, having the demons. It's very difficult to control. He says he's feeling stressed out. He doesn't feel good. He feels anxious. He feels irritable.
And actually, currently, right now, I have severe anxiety disorder.
He feels like when he's taking steroids that he doesn't have control of himself.
If I take enough gear in high enough doses without taking any, for lack of a better term, nootropics, but also just some sort of brain health supplements to offset that, anxiety times 100.
Oh, shit.
I have it when I wake up at night to go to sleep. Now that we have my anxiety much more under control with, for example, such as CBD, ashwagandha, lion's mane, Noopept. Noopept's not so for anxiety. It's more for keeping your brain growing.
Brain health.
Yeah. It feels like I'm getting smarter, so that's really neat. Steroids do reliably make you dumber, by the way. So now that the anxiety is a little bit more controlled, I'm actually noticing something. The lack of anxiety has revealed the other predictable psychological effect for me, which is anger and aggression, rage.
He's punched me a handful of times.
That's my cup of coffee. Bam.
Sometimes it's nothing. You just...
I'm your father. I'm your father. I would call it righteous anger, kind of summed up in the emotional salience of how dare you. Like, I'll read a comment when I'm on Plenty of Shit, and it's, as usual, a highly disrespectful comment on Instagram. And I fantasize about meeting that person in real life, walking up to them in the gym way too close to their face and be like, say something, you pussy. As they cower away, hurt them physically so that everyone can see and then eat their organs. Total crazy shit. And I hate it.
And so listen, I mean, we're joking around. He's having a good time. But what are you taking from this? Remember, Mike Israetel at the end says, I'm not a mean person. But when he's on steroids, especially in large doses, he's feeling a lot of anxiety. He doesn't feel comfortable in his own skin. He doesn't feel comfortable in his own skin. He's also feeling anger. I believe he said righteous anger. The kind of anger that when he's reading a comment, he hates it so much he imagines himself beating up that opponent. Literally to a pulp. Imagine going through that. And that is from steroids. Remember, without steroids, he's calm, he's relaxed, he's a nice person. And so perhaps when Mike says negative things about you, perhaps when he's being rude, perhaps he's just taking too much gear. Mike perhaps is a chill, laid-back guy. Things don't get to him, but on the right doses of the wrong compounds, it changes him mentally, not just physically. We've seen the physical changes. We've seen the clubbing of the fingers. We've seen his forehead larger than last time. We know he's on growth hormone. We've seen the protruding of the abdomen. The belly's getting larger than last time. And we've seen all the negative health implications it has. And so in the end, should Mike not call it a day? Well, of course he should, but why doesn't he? I'll tell you why. He's going to answer this right now.
Because I got a glimpse of that when I was like 16 and I was like, more. I just wanted to look more and more like a tank. Something that could like run through a wall.
And so, yeah, he does look like a tank. He looks like the Hulk. He looks like he could literally run through a wall.
Back to you. You only do it for yourself. You don't view it as an artistic outlet. Understood on both fronts.
It's art, but it's for me.
And so he says, look, you're only doing this for yourself. It's not an artistic outlet. It's just for you. But we're going to find out right now, what is it really for? Why is he doing it? Why is he competing?
Because there's art that's performative. You want other people to see it. I give a flying f for other people.
So
He says, look, I don't give a flying cookbook if other people see it. I don't care about the routine. I don't really enjoy getting up on stage. None of that matters to me. And so what matters? Why are you competing?
part of it is stepping on stage and like people seeing it and him being
I
able
hate
to
that
pose.
part.
So you hate that part.
I don't hate it. I find no appeal in it whatsoever.
And so for other people, Eric Helms, they like going up on stage. It's a lot of fun. But for Mike, it's not what I like.
The only reason I compete
Yes.
is to illustrate to people that marginally more than they would otherwise believe the methods that we espouse at Renaissance Periodization are effective.
The only reason he competes is to prove to other people that his methods work at least marginally better than other people. Omar expressed himself in several different days, wanted to dig down deep. Why does Mike compete? And the answer was he wants to show that his methods work. And so what Mike's hoping for is an appeal to authority. He wants to have an IFBB Pro card in front of his name on Instagram. That way people say he must know what he's doing. Mike Israetel literally already has a PhD. But imagine having PhD and IFBB Pro in your name at the same time. Imagine the slam dunk argument you can have on your training methods work. You both are educated in the classroom and you practice what you peak as evidenced with your physique.
If you didn't have that and you're making this progress, you still said 42. Would you compete if you didn't have a business tied to it then?
Probably not in bodybuilding.
Yes,
in jiu-jitsu, I'd compete all the time.
Yeah.
And so I get this. Remember, Mike Israetel, I would argue, is the most famous social media influencer in the world right now. I know he doesn't have as many followers as some people, but I do believe he's getting more views. He's posting about one video every single day, quality content, of which I highly suggest you go and watch. He's very entertaining. He's funny. He clearly knows what he's talking about. He has an amazing training and diet app, and so I highly recommend it. But the main reason he's competing is because he wants the IFBB Pro card. He wants people to view him as a pro. That all that practice he's made in the classroom, that he is able to apply it on stage. And if he weren't competing, if he didn't have this platform, he would in fact be retired. Why? Probably because of his health. And so he's risking his health with the financial incentive to be the best coach in the world. And so I would argue, is it worth it? Mike Israetel is clearly making millions of dollars a year. Trust me, I'm making millions. He's getting way more views than me. And so how is it possible that he's not making millions? Of course, he's a multi-millionaire, but it's never enough. But I'd argue, is it worth it? Is your health worth all this money? If I could tell you, hey, you're going to make an extra $10 million, but you have to do something for 2 more years that's going to endanger your health, would you do it? Many people are going to do it. What if you already had millions of dollars? Would you still do it? I don't think so. There's a person here right now, he's got his arm up and he's not doing it. Why do you think I'm not on abusive doses of steroids and so on? Do you not think I love having big muscles? Do you not think I like competing? Of course I do. But yet I'm not. I stopped taking steroids about 5 years ago. I'm only on HRT prescribed by my doctor, which was prescribed by an endocrinologist. The reason for that is my health. I don't want to risk my health. Of course I want to take Anavar. Of course I want to take Masteron Primo and so on. At lower doses, steroids made me feel better. It gave me more energy and so on, had more muscles. But I don't do it, and the reason is, the only reason, because I don't believe it's healthy. If it was healthy, I would be taking much higher doses. I'm not even on growth hormone. Think of it. Why do you think I'm not on growth hormone? If I thought I could take growth hormone and it wouldn't take years off my life, I would 100% be doing it. The reason I'm not, because I don't believe it to be safe.
So you're absurdly rich like that. So you would be done then.
Well, I'm already absurdly rich.
Well, that makes sense then.
And so he says, look, I'm already absurdly rich. He has a smirk on his face. He's not lying. Guys, he's getting over 50 million views on YouTube each and every month. He's posting videos every day. He's getting triple the views on any of his videos than I am. Remember, I'm not saying this out of jealousy or envy. I had my time where I was getting tons of views, perhaps not as many as him, but I'm also absurdly rich as well. And look, he's doing even better than I thought. I looked him up on Social Blade. He's got 73 million views in the last month. That is absolutely incredible. It's way more than Sam Sulik ever got, more than Jesse James, more than all the famous YouTubers I can think of. Imagine if he's not insanely rich. There's no way this guy couldn't be buying multiple McLarens, living in a mansion. He's making more freaking money than last time. Yet, it's not enough. It's never enough. Do you remember Breaking Bad? In particular, Walter White. The guy had so much money, it was piled up in a storage locker, hundreds of millions of dollars. You think he could spend it? He couldn't even declare it.
I'm in the empire business.
But yet he kept going. He kept going because he loved it. And so Mike Israetel, he's loving it. How could you not? He's posting video after video every single day. He could post one video a week. He could be like most YouTubers, one, maybe 2 videos a week. Make a couple $1 million a year, live comfortably. But no, it's not enough. I want 8 figures, 9 figures. Can I, in fact, be a billionaire? So the reason he keeps competing is because he wants the dinero, the money, the moolah. And so it's not about the money. He's probably not even going to spend it. He doesn't seem to have a lucrative lifestyle. He doesn't need all these things. But the money represents the accomplishments that you've made. It represents the work that you put into it. And so it's not about making more money. It's about getting a higher score. The score being determined by how much money you're making. The most wealthiest people in the world, the guys with billions, perhaps tens, hundreds of billions of dollars. Do you really think they're going to spend all that money? But yet they keep going. But why? Why do they need more money? Because it's a game to see how good can you get in life, of which many of us are valued by how much money we have made. And so am I jealous or envious? Of course not. I respect the work, the hustle. He's grinding harder than last time. He's doing one video almost every single day. And so why not cheer for him? And so although we've had beef in the past, he's made fun of Coach Greg, said I pretend to be a doctor and so on. It's all in good fun. I don't care. It doesn't bother me. I wish him all the best, wish him success. Hopefully he gets his pro card sooner than last time before he can't compete ever again because of his health. And so, Mike, I highly suggest you go and pick up a bottle of blood work from Harder Than Last Time. And when you get off the performance enhancing drugs, please take Turk Builder and GO2 Max. Improve your cardio. You know you're grappling, wrestling, and so on. You need better cardio than last time. Turk Builder going to help you have more energy, build more muscle. And so when you do in fact retire, don't forget to pick up Turk Builder, GO2 Max, and right now, blood work. Code Greg, 15% off, but considering you're making millions of dollars, you don't need to use my discount code after all. Subscribe, click the bell button, comment to boost the algorithm, like one of those 2 videos. Don't forget, if you want the friggin' cookbook, the Circle Diet book, training books, Mike doesn't need them. He already knows this. The rest of you, head over to my website. If you don't have the millions of dollars like Coach Greg and Mike Israetel, we have a free diet training program. It's close to 50 pages. Join the 300,000 plus newsletter subscribers. And until next time, I am out.